Awesome. Well, I'll share my screen real quick, and we can get started. How's everybody doing?
Great. Glad to see the sun.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for joining. Emily and I are part of a larger planning team, but we can introduce ourselves. So my name is CJ Greco. I use they and she pronouns. I'm the teen programs manager at Lincoln Park Zoo. And I've been on the planning committee for the City Nature Challenge, the Chicagoland region, for the past 4 years. Emily?
Oh, you're muted, Emily.
My name is Emily Kenny. I am the Volunteer Services Supervisor for the Forest Preserve District of Will County, and I've been on the Planning Committee for the past couple years, but a participant pretty much from the beginning.
Fantastic. So, like I was just mentioning, we're a part of a larger team. You can see there's so many of us that are from all across the region, participating in planning and hosting and facilitating all different sorts of things. There'll be another one of these cafes this evening, I believe, where Kat and Dave are going to be hosting. So their stuff is on here too. But um, let's get into it. Um, so the City Nature Challenge, if you've never heard of it before, it's a larger community science project, which community science in general is just public participation in scientific research. It's anybody, you don't have to be a scientist, you can be anybody and you can participate in the science that's happening. And it's a global competition where cities across the globe are competing with each other to get the most um, submissions via iNaturalist as they can in a set period. So this is called the BioBlitz, this kind of rush to get observations, make the most amount of observations of nature, whether it's finding the most species, engaging the most people, and it's over just this short 4-day period every spring. It's around Earth Day. And the focus is on wild plants, animals, and mushrooms, and other living things, just not like pets or planted plants, like cultivated plants. A little history on the City Nature Challenge. It was a part of the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County and the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco. They sort of were competing between San Francisco and LA to sort of see which city could have the most uh, submissions in a weekend. And that competition in 2016 has blossomed into a global challenge uh, 10 years later, which is incredibly exciting. Um, you know, now 20,000 submissions were made like 10 years ago, and Chicago is a part of this larger scene in the City Nature Challenge kind of global community. In 2017, Chicago was added, and then it became international in 2018. Yeah, we can get into results and stuff in a little bit.
So what is the City Nature Challenge? It has two parts. It has the global bio, like I mentioned, April 24th through the 27th. The identification period, April 28th through May 10th. For those of you who might have participated in Nature Challenge before, the identification period is actually longer this time because the goal this just to really get good identification, not just pictures. And then the results are on May 13th. So where is the City Nature Challenge? It is global, like AJ mentioned. And in Illinois, we're focusing on the Chicagoland region. There are other regions in Illinois, like Central, there's Rockford, Northern area, there's down south by St. Louis as well. But we're focusing today on the Chicagoland region, which basically incorporates all the Chicago wilderness areas.
So nature can be found anywhere. right? That's really the whole point, is we're using iNaturalist to catalog it in whatever form that takes, whether that's in the forest preserves in your neighborhood, parks, your backyard. I've even cataloged like bugs and beetles that I've seen in my house, unfortunately. But those things count, right? Like they're not cultivated here. Anywhere with like wild plants, animals, and fungi counts, which is really, really exciting. And like I was mentioning earlier, anyone can participate. You don't need much to participate in the City Nature Challenge. You really just need uh like a way to take a digital photo and upload it. Or if you're somebody who's just like, I really love to identify things, you can log in and just help identify the things that people are seeing. So you don't need to be out and about to participate. You can just hang out at home and still participate through the identification process. Um, there's the like global projects where the science is gathered, but really individuals are welcome to participate on any scale. All submissions are used in a variety of ways, which is really, really cool.
So how can your organization participate in City Nature Challenge? First of all, for the Chicagoland region, we do want you to be in the Chicago Wilderness area, which hopefully you are since you're part of this cafe. Your observations will automatically be shared if you upload them to iNaturalist, whether the app or the website. So you don't have to add a special project to your profile in iNaturalist to do that, which is great. Some of the other projects that are out there, you do have to say, I want to submit this for this project. You don't have to for those 4 days for City Nature Challenge, as long as you're within the area. Now, if you want to actually have your organization have an event where you're sort of welcoming others to it, those we need to know those information by April 1st. So you have just under 4 weeks to go. And you can do mini bio blitzes in your park. So you can say, hey, we're doing a bio blitz at this park from this time to this time. Come on out and take pictures and we'll get them on iNaturalist and be part of the program. You could do just a standard guided nature hike like you normally would and ask or invite the people to take pictures and upload them to iNaturalist that day. We have naturalist meetups. So like pop up into a park, meet a naturalist, take pictures of the wildlife around you and get that included. Identification days. So again, we have several days during the event that you can just say, hey, come to our computer lab and offer up experience to be able to go through the database and figure out what pictures were taken and identify them to the best of your ability. You can even do pre-activities. So before the actual event, talk about iNaturalist, do a training on it, get anyone, have them bring their devices and show them how to create an account if they don't have an account yet, how they can take pictures, how to do the objects. There's different videos and things like that as well, which are great to show you and present that. So you can stuff before the event, those 4 days in April. You can do during with actual bio bits, a hike, meetups. I've done combination programs before where we're doing restoration day. During our break of restoration, we are going out and taking pictures. Or I've done litter pickups. We're doing a litter pickup. And as we are picking up litter around the parks, we're taking pictures of different wildlife we see that are there as well. So you can really tie this in. Do a geocache event and take pictures while you're geocaching. Any type of programming a yoga event. Oh, wouldn't that be yoga outside? Hopefully it's nice and warm by that point. And then when you're all done, take some pictures of the nature around it. You can really tie it into almost any type of event and incorporate just a few of those images. And what's really nice is that if they don't want to have their iNaturalist account or create one, if you provide your participants with some digital cameras, then you can actually upload all the different data separately on the website to iNaturalist and have it incorporated that way. So they can still take pictures, but not necessarily upload them if they don't want to create an account. But we can get into that a little bit later. So can I really make a difference? This was from the 2025, and you can see there was, over 3 million different observations. I do have to admit, Chicagoland barely broke the top 10 or was really close to the top
Yep.
10 last year. And so hopefully with these cafes, we can, and that's for North America. That's not just in the country, that's North America. And I'm sorry, Chicago is, and the Chicagoland region is way better than most of the towns that were higher up than us. So I think if all of us just did a couple more photos or got a few of their friends or did something for your organization, it's going to be great. And if you notice for some of these images here that have been found, things that have never been seen in that area before have been discovered. Things that they thought were extinct, people took pictures of, and they're like, nope, they're not extinct. They are here. So you can really make a difference just by taking pictures of cool things that you see on your sidewalks, on your trees, down the street, or in your natural area or park. And then here, this is showing you a little bit about what we had last year for 2025. So again, we had most observations in our group, most species in our group, and most observed species in your group. And if you look, Canada goose, very common. I think most people in this group today are going to be able to see the Canada goose and be able to identify it that way. Virginia bluebells. Ooh, yay, I love bluebells. Those will be popping soon. So some of these observations of things that you can see, you probably know what they are. You can probably identify them. Some people, 141 species or 327 photos, 420 photos. We're not asking everybody to do 400 photos, but if everyone did just a few photos and then you had a group together of 10 people, that can make a really big difference. And you can see our hotspot on the map there. A lot of stuff close to the lakeshore, and then we head out into the suburbs. But you can see we've had observations in all of the different areas within the Chicagoland region and Chicago Wilderness. So there's something out there for everybody, regardless of the type of wildlife you see. It's out there, and take pictures of it. It's great.
Just a little bit more on some like Chicago specific results. One thing that us here in the Chicagoland region have done really well with is getting a lot of different folks involved. So you saw that one of our first slides with all of the different organizations who are on the planning committee for the Chicagoland Region City Nature Challenge. But in addition to that, one thing that we are really good at here in Chicago is just engaging folks across our communities. So last year, I think we placed 12th globally in terms of number of participants, which is really exciting. So I think it was what, like 1,300 participants last year. The year before we had 1,000. So maybe we'll get to 1,500 participants this year. And all of that is in part by all of you who are here to spread the word about the City Nature Challenge with us. Oh yeah, I guess this is kind of what I was talking about too. These are more just like Chicagoland region highlights of, I don't know, these are just cool things happening that we are seeing, right? This like American tar spot in the bottom left corner. That's so cool. I love a toad. I love a snapping turtle. And these are things that we're seeing in our region that are, these are pictures that the everyday people are taking and are uploading to iNaturalist to be used by this larger community science project. So iNaturalist is a lot of different things. I keep referring to it. I think we both are really excited by it because we are very familiar with it. But if you're unfamiliar with it, iNaturalist is this kind of larger thing. It's a website, it's an app, but really it is a platform for science, right? I've heard people describe it as like a social network for identifying things in wildlife or sharing nature observations, which is a really cool way to describe it. But at the end of the day, anything that's uploaded to iNaturalist and I like confirmed, identified as whatever it is able to be used in like science projects. So scientists can like download that data of where things are in what regions and what species, and can use that data in mapping out larger biodiversity indexes across different varieties of sciences, which is really, really cool. So just one observation records one individual encounter with a thing, and it records the time and location. And I'll get into more a little bit later about like geo-privacy and things like that. But it records all that and allows it to be used for further studying this stuff, which is really, really neat. Here's a quick video about iNaturalist. Can we hear it? Okay.
Okay, so you've installed the iNaturalist app and created an account. Time to get outside and record your first observation. Here's how to do it. Any living thing, like a plant, animal, or fungus, can be an observation on iNaturalist. Once you find something you'd like to record, just tap Observe and take a photo. You can review your picture, then hit Next if it looks good. To identify it, hit What did you see? If you have an internet connection, iNaturalist will suggest 10 visually similar species and often a common ancestor. You can choose one of those or search for a species name. On this observation details screen, you can add more photos of the same organism or write a note. The date, time, and location have been automatically added. You can also change the geoprivacy of the observation, mark whether it's captive or cultivated, or add it to a project. Once you're finished, just hit share and your observation will be uploaded for everyone to see and identify. That's it. Keep on exploring and sharing.
Yay, iNaturalist. So yeah, really any observations that are recorded are able to be shared and then further documented and identified and even discussed. So the more like verified observations, the better it is for like science, but even unverified or needs ID can be used by anybody, right? Oh, well, I know that there's this picture of a witch hazel in this area. I want to go make sure I see the witch hazel when it blooms, right? Little stringy little flowers. So you can use iNaturalist to see where things are, which is really neat. Yeah, there's it, I like the idea of thinking about it as a social network. Like it's no Meta, Facebook, whatever, but it's kind of a space where your observations are noted and you can discuss those with others in your community. It also has like a automated image recognition tool, sort of like you ever use like Merlin for birding or like with the bird sounds. It's kind of like that if you take a picture of like a flower or something, it can like use automated image recognition to see if it can find what that is, which is really neat and really, really helpful, even just for learning what the things are. So you can upload pictures, upload sounds, you can upload observations with no pictures, but it doesn't look like you can do videos just yet, which is unfortunate.
So for evidence of organisms, you can see, trying to get close-up pictures is really important for identification, but sometimes you don't see the animal itself. Sometimes you see the evidence of the animals, tracks, scats. Here's a nice little left of a tree from a beaver. So those types of things will also work for this project. Put them in there and try to narrow down what it potentially has come from. Is it a canid? Is it a rodent? If you don't know the exact species, that's okay. But putting something that will hopefully get you close will help that next identifier that looks at that picture narrow it down. Because we do have sometimes specialists that go in and they're like, ooh, I'm a specialist in fungi. Anything that has fungi listed, they're going to start working from that and making sure that things are good there. If they're not a specialist in fungi, they're probably going to avoid those because they're very easily misidentified. You just want to get them close. So that's important with evidence as well from the organism. Remember, you can also do multiple pictures. So if you see something and it flies away, but then it left something behind, also add that. And as you can see, iNaturalist app versus the website, The app is great for making those initial observations and what's by me, you know, taking those pictures. The website is nice to be able to upload if you're not in the field, especially if you don't have internet out there. Looking at the identifications and really seeing your picture a lot easier on a big screen versus your little tiny phone. IDs and comments and looking at projects and stats and things like that are really fun with the website. And then also the information that you are gathering or your participants are gathering tells you like maybe the species is expanding its range. Something invasive has moved in and it needs to be dealt with by your land managers. A new species that we've never even seen before is in this area. Is it a fluke or did it just happen to be blown off course? That happens a lot with birds. When we have storms and things like that coming through the spring, we see things that we're just not expecting. And then also, you know, when are these things actually out for the phenology? You know, you can see the graph here. It's when it's its peak season that people actually notify it. And for our community science projects in our region, there's lots of them. There's you can use things like iNaturalist and eBird, but there's Project Budbirds, there's Plants of Concerns and monitors for plovers and martins and calling frogs, Illinois Bird Monitoring Network, butterfly, bats. We're in Will County alone. We do at least half of these in the county specifically, but you don't have to have tons of land and tons of pieces and parts. iNaturalist can be used for a lot of different things, and it really gets people engaged in what they find in their area. And when you start taking pictures, you start realizing it's not just a tree, a blade of grass, a flower. There's lots of different types of trees. There's lots of different types of grasses. There's lots of different types of flowers. And just that moment, I see it every year with participants when we're taking pictures. They're like, I haven't even moved very far and I've already got 12 pictures. And I'm like, yeah. All of a sudden, you can see why the jokes of when you take a natural on a walk and you don't go anywhere for 3 hours, that's why, because we're looking at all the cool things that are close by that other people are just walking by and missing on the time. So it does help with our tracking and conservation efforts on the land, taking these pictures. And unfortunately, we can't all be out there at the same time and taking pictures and looking for land managers. So being able to have this information that you're gathering can really help in the long run.
With like Emily was just saying, a lot of the things that are uploaded are able to be discussed in this in iNaturalist, which is really, really cool. So somebody put this picture of what they saw. They were like, I think I know what this is, but I don't really know. And so someone they tagged someone who might know more. Oh gosh. And this person gave a lot of information about what they knew about these plants, which is really, really cool. They also got way more specific. So the one person might have known the genus, but this person knew the exact species, which is really neat. So being able to have conversations about ID, it's a really, I think, a fun and a safe conversation to have where there's enthusiasts and experts alike conversing on what things might be. So if you just take a picture and upload it, really the only things that you need to make sure you can get identifications on your observations from folks is make sure that your observation is like dated, has a location, is a photo or a sound. If you have a blank observation, there's nothing that anyone can ID. But the more pictures, the more sounds, the more clarity you give it, the easier it is for folks to help. And then it's always good to like narrow it down to like the basic level. So if you just put a picture and you don't leave any ID, it's harder to know where folks might be interested. Someone's like, well, I'm a plant expert and I am trying to go look at all the plants to ID. Well, if it's not tagged as plant, I'm not going to see it. So giving it the basic idea of what you think it might be is really helpful. Another thing too is identifications often take time during the City Nature Challenge, or taking maybe less time because we're trying to get all of our IDs done in that period. But if you ID something right now, it might not get identified for a few weeks, depending on people's availability. And it could be more difficult if it's a track, scat, feather, just because some are better with those types of IDs and some are not better with those types of IDs. It can also be if you know someone who is an expert in that type of thing, you can always tag them, which is really cool. And it's a nice way to strengthen your own ID skills. I know I've learned a lot through the identification stuff that we do. And like it's helped me with my plant knowledge, my bird knowledge, and I feel like made me an overall better naturalist through working through iNaturalist.
So if you look at the, finest level of your confidence. So everyone's like, oh, caterpillar, great. Get it to that point. You know it's a butterfly or a moth or something. It's hairy, so I'd lean more towards a moth for my knowledge. Beyond that, I'm not very good. But it breaks it down to, okay, well here, this is the owlet moths and allies. And then someone else said, ooh, that's a tiger moth. And then someone actually goes, actually, it's a very specific tribe, active tiger moth. So each person was able to whittle it down more and more depending on their expertise. But just having that listed as either a moth or caterpillar in Lepidoptera, that was important because now those people who are really into that particular type of group of animal or plant can narrow it down and get it more specific. So again, look at these wonderful pictures. They're taking pictures of, the flowers, the leaves. We have some that have just this plant. And some of you might be looking at the plant and go, I know exactly what it is. You can at least narrow it down. If you know it all the way down to the species, great, awesome. Oh, it's a plum or a cherry or it's an ally. It's something close to it. We got our oak, and then some of you might realize that is in the white oak family. So again, everyone has their different expertise of where they're at, and just you can always confirm and go back into other people's pictures and give them helpful hints on that identifying section.
It's also kind of cool to take a look at this, where if it will sort of auto ID things for you, depending on what it thinks. Like I said, that like automated image recognition, which is really neat. But it also shares other commonly misidentified as the species, right? I think there's it's pretty easy to get tricked between the monarch and the viceroy, right? And even goes further than that of like, well, maybe you saw an orange butterfly, but maybe it was a queen butterfly or a painted lady butterfly. And so it gives you a lot of extra information on, oh, actually it did look a little bit more like this. I thought I saw XYZ, but really I saw TBQ. I don't know. But with geoprivacy in that video, it sort of talked about that you can change that. There is open, it will give the exact location that you put. There is obscured, so it's within a 150 square mile-ish range. So like it's somewhere in this range, or you can upload it as private and the location won't be shared. You can also change what your automatic is for yourself and your account, but also it automatically changes the geoprivacy of certain taxa for at-risk species, especially with things like owls as well, right? Because people are always trying to go find the best owl picture, so it kind of hides their location so they're not overwhelmed and swarmed and stuff. And that's with owls, that's with a lot of things that are threatened or endangered, or even just generally at risk, which is really cool that the software kind of knows to protect those different things. I know it's programmed as such, but still really neat. And then the last thing here is the difference. You might have heard of Seek before as like, well, you're talking about an ID stuff for you. What about Seek? Seek is great. Seek is run through iNaturalist. It's the same auto image search. I will say Seek is really cool because it has sort of a gamification model where it like gives you badges, like this is your 3rd observation, this is your 10th observation, which is really, really neat. It's great for kids, especially kids under the age of 13, because you must be over the age of 13 to make an iNaturalist account. The issue is with Seek, identifications on Seek don't automatically get uploaded to iNaturalist because you don't necessarily need to take a picture. You can just hold your screen or your camera over the thing without clicking it. So Seek is great, but it doesn't automatically record that data. It's also great because you don't need to like upload any personal information. So if you're just looking for like an ID support, Seek is wonderful. If you're looking for a kid support, Seek is wonderful. But to participate, you really need that iNaturalist account.
And I do want to tie into that geo-privacy. For City Nature Challenge, please don't make them private, just because then it doesn't know where you're at to be able to add it to the project. And obscured is great that if you're doing it in your backyard and you don't want it to be out there where your house is. Not that
That's a
you're
great point.
saying it's your house, but totally get having that obscured if you're in your own backyard.
Yeah.
Or if you move down the block or whatever, hey, you just happen to be in the neighborhood. But if you are in your backyard or something, or an area that is a more sensitive type of thing, you might want to do it obscured versus open. Okay. I just
That's
wanted to add that.
Appreciated it.
So again, observations, April 24th through the 27th. So this is when you're taking those pictures and putting them on iNaturalist and uploading them. Identifying happens after that, the 28th through the 10th. So you can have programs that are identifying, then you can have observation programs the weekend of the 24th, 27th, and then any type of prep programs for learning how to use iNaturalist, how to create a page, how to set up your accounts or practice type of thing before then. So you can utilize all of April and into the beginning of May for City Nature Challenge, but those pictures only count if they're taken the 24th through the 27th. So really trying to make sure that they are there and then uploading them as soon as possible after that, if you're not doing them live on your phone, just so that when people start identifying on the 28th, they have the best chance and the longest time to do it. So here's the QR link for seeing the Chicagoland project. You don't necessarily have to join the project, but then you're going to start seeing all the different fellow collaborators on that. If you want to submit your event activity that you want to host, that is the other QR code closer to the map by April 1st. And we are going to be here for discussions. If you have specifics on, what type of program to lead or where can I do it? Or, I mean, there's been some cool ones of in the parking lot at night, white sheet under the lights, moths. Woohoo! That's a program. Yep. Literally anything, any place. That's what we're here for. So, and welcome to contact myself and any of the crew or the group. There's some questions and stuff in there that if you have, that we're more than happy to help you out, because we really do want to make the Chicagoland region awesome for City Nature Challenge this year. And with this particular group and Chicago Wilderness Alliance, I think that we can kick it out of the water this year.
Yeah, for sure. That first email there, that cnc-cw region at googlegroups.com. If you email that, it will email all of the planning committee with if you have questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, theories, whatever, we're happy to answer. It'll email out to everybody who's on that planning committee team. And then, get your events in. One last thing too, that for your observation period, get your events in, but also we're going to be doing an observation and ID gathering at District Brew Yards on May 6th in the evening. So sort of an after work, come and hang out with other folks, organizers, participants, to ID observations in a social setting. People bring their field guides to the brewery. People bring their laptops and their computers to sort of sit and ID. It's a very social time, but also it's a really great time to collaborate with other folks who are interested in the field of and the environment, and see kind of compare live with other people, which is really, really neat. So if the one at District Brew Yards is a little bit too far for you, obviously we recommend hosting one in your area as well. I will say I work with teens. I did a teen identification night at my organization, which was really fun. So there's lots of other ways that you can have everybody participate in the identification period and the observation period. But I think that is all that we have. Yay.
Wow, that was really awesome and so informative. And I've even been in on these meetings for a long time.
Wonderful. Do we have any questions? Yeah, Patrick.
Patrick. Go ahead, Patrick. Can you say your question?
I don't hear you.
It says that he's on mute, but I'm not
Oh,
seeing.
mic
Oh,
issue.
he's having mic
I
issues.
guess you. Oh, shoot.
No worries. I have been there.
Anybody else?
Or feel free to type it in the chat. The question.
Yeah, maybe while Patrick is typing, I can ask a question. Oh, can you ID gardens?
Can you ID gardens? So this really is for wild, non-cultivated. So yes, you can ID your garden and iNaturalist in general, but for City Nature Challenge, it needs to be stuff that naturally occurred. So the ant crawling on the plants in your garden, yes.
Yeah, the
worms that you might just
bees.
happen
Yeah.
to find in your garden, the bees, the butterflies, but the actual flowers, if you planted them there specifically for that garden, then no. So yeah, there's a trick.
I was actually going to ask maybe a similar question, but maybe just for clarification. So like the gardens at the Field Museum, I've done an event at Steelworkers Park as the volunteer steward there.
Fascinating.
You know, those are obviously not originally like prairie, like they're not like you know, the original landscape, right? They're cultivated to some degree, but you know, I might not always know, like I could probably identify 25 to 50% of an invasive plant species in the region.
Sure.
I'm definitely not going to know a lot of things about the plants. Like in those types of sites, should we say just no plants? Or is there still some value because like everyday folks participating might not know? Just any advice on this cultivated piece would be
Yeah,
helpful.
that's really interesting. You know, I'm thinking a lot about like cultivated in a garden, like a garden display versus like cultivated restoration feels different to me. I don't know, Emily, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking if it's like a restoration garden where the seeds were spread and yes, they're weeding and stuff, but that's also habitat management.
Right.
Versus, you know, it looks very manicured and very plot specific, and, you know, little fences around each little plant type of thing, then that would be probably not so much, but
Right. Especially I'm thinking a lot about like steelworkers. Like a lot of it is managed, but managed isn't the same as like we put this plant here and it's gonna grow here forever.
Right. And just like, you know, with the Rice Native Gardens, I forget what the original planting was, but they know, our ecologists know that we have like at least 24 non-native and
Yeah.
invasive species that have moved in. And like at Steelworkers, you know, or even like your, you know, my garden, I like can't always remember what I
Totally.
planted. It's only like 4 feet by 8 feet. And I'm like, wait,
sure.
were you the plant I put there or not? So maybe just a question for another year.
Well, I think part of that too, Nicole, I think part of it is like you can absolutely still use iNaturalist to ID things, even if they aren't used for the City Nature Challenge. Like it's you can just mark it as like a cultivated
cultivar.
plant. Yeah, you can mark it as that, so it won't count. So if you know that, like, oh, I put this here, but I don't remember what it is, that is still an option that you can do in iNaturalist. The other thing I'm thinking about too is at Lincoln Park Zoo, we have Nature Boardwalk, which 15 years, more than like 17 years ago, Nature Boardwalk was like a concrete pond. And now it's like a beautifully restored natural area with 300 native plants. I have no idea what those native plants are. And we use iNaturalist as our like tracking tool, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's a useful discussion. I think I don't think I can lead any events that day, either at Steelworkers or at Field Museum, but I have colleagues and my co-lead who will. I wonder if we just say if there's an interesting plant, feel free to take a picture.
Yeah,
Don't
for
worry
sure.
about
We
if it's
have some
cultivated.
international meetings coming up, Nicole, that the people in our group are going to be going to. I'm one of them, and I am happy to bring it up to those international where they have the, for the whole big project from LA, and find out what they suggest on restored areas and display gardens that aren't cultivated to the point of like, this is a tomato plant. This is
Right.
and it's more of just a wild space that's been regreened, renaturalized, where that cultivated and uncultivated native line comes, or not native, but wild line goes. And I can get back to you on that.
Any other questions? That was great. Really good conversation there. Yeah, Patrick, we'll find a way to get back to the group. I wonder if maybe we can send an email out or something, Laura.
I can share the registration list with you all, and
that'd be great.
when you get some of this response, you can send an email.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. Cool. Well, there's nothing else. Thanks for being here, everybody. This was lovely.
Thank you both.
Of course.
We will share the recording and a PDF of the slides on the website and with everybody who registered for this event. And so please share it with your colleagues and anyone else that you think might be interested in hosting a City Nature Challenge event.
Fabulous. Thanks, everybody. Yay.
Okay.
All right. And please unmute yourself if you have a question. Sally, do you have a question?
Feel free. Yeah, Sally.
Yeah, hi, thank you. You all covered a lot. I am so excited now. But when I talked to the librarian who said we could do something with them, like meet at first in the conference room at the little library and then come out into the community garden and the park and so on. We were thinking of having somebody who knows about birds and then borrowing binoculars from the library. But from what you said today, maybe we shouldn't focus that way on using this as an opportunity to help people, identify birds. Or I guess as well. What would you comment on that?
Yeah.
Obviously, people can take pictures of. We have lots of plants and stuff in our permaculture area, and all this kind of stuff. We even have a pawpaw. I saw your pawpaw. But yeah, what do you think about trying to use it as also kind of a teaching opportunity about how to look at a bird or find a bird?
Then take it away, Dave.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I think it's that you could definitely organize it as like birding and the City Nature Challenge with iNaturalist. Like it's always cool to have like an expert there as well in a certain field. But I think there's been people that have organized City Nature Challenge like iNaturalist days for like going out and recording like fungi, like specifically like we're going to go looking for fungi, of course you're going to see other things as well. So I think it could be a good complement to a City Nature Challenge event to also have a birder along, or a birding component as well.
All right, well, we have to find the birder, but then,
Oh.
you know, we just got this idea a couple of days ago. But thank you for that word of sort of acceptance into this. And I could certainly see it, groups. I mean, I don't know that we'll get more than 10 people coming. I'd be happy if we got that many, but you know, having like a person who goes with the birds, or several people might go with the birds, and then someone else might be with the families and just helping the kids take pictures of what they see right under their feet, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Emily,
And yeah.
Emily put in the chat, and I agree. I think the idea of a joint project, like picking up litter and taking photos, wildlife restoration, like you can be doing it all at the same time. Like even if you're looking at the birds, then you can also go down into the garden and take pictures of the things that are happening there. Like I think it is a real value add.
Oh, good. Yeah. And the birds, you know, are usually attracted, as we all know, to some of the native plants that are around. So we can always hope that they're flocking at that time. And then, I had I've tried iNaturalist and Seek, and I'm usually not terribly, well, I just guess I'm not very adept at it. And I was very happy when you said Seek is more for the little kids, because it seems very limited. But is it pretty clear on how to upload the Seek information to the iNaturalist, or is that something I should go get a workshop on?
So it's
Is
been,
it all online?
I mean, it's been a while since I've used the Seek app, but I know like that within the Seek app, I'm gonna see if I have it on this phone. You can link in your iNaturalist. Oh, go ahead, Laura. Sorry.
Well, Emily, I feel like did you address this question? I feel like it's not as easy to link your account because of the privacy controls. Is that what you were saying this afternoon?
Yeah, if you're
Oh.
able to just go on iNaturalist, take those pictures, it'll give you some possibilities from there, and then just choose what you think is the best choice that you're comfortable with. Don't, like what's already said, if you don't know its exact species name, then don't do that. But if it's a butterfly, put butterfly. That's good. And that just seemed to work easier than the Seek to the iNaturalist, because it doesn't necessarily have to be connected to the internet as well. So they might have changed it, but the last time we were doing it, it was Seek is great for hands-on trying to figure out what it is, but not really taking photos and trying to put it into the projects.
Yeah.
That was a great
But
question,
we can ask that
Sally.
question to the international group too, the next time we meet too.
Great. Well, thank you so much, because sometimes it's those steps, and if you spend half an hour in the field trying to help someone and you've just told them, oh, it's easy, you sort of lose their interest. So I appreciate your going into it. And we'll just have plenty of grown-ups with the iNaturalist app. And then when we're going through it, for example, when you're at the brewery, or we might meet at the library, let's say the next
Yeah.
day, and go, would we be seeing we would just look at all the things that have been submitted from Chicago, or would we be going back and it would be, the Near West Side Library Community Garden Group, for example?
That's a really great question. And
I don't know the answer to that either.
You can do either. So like you will be able to, like, when you go to the Chicago Wilderness Project for City Nature Challenge, it'll give you everything. But you can also then like zoom into the area that you want to focus on the web platform.
Okay.
And so you could
cool.
just pull in your group's observations if you want to. Like I tend to more zoom into like Chicago proper for some of mine, because I might not know some stuff in the Indiana Dunes or whatever. And also, like, for that identification time, a lot of it, like, even for a lot of like groups of plants or animals that I'm not familiar with, sometimes just going through, and if someone just left the identification totally blank, like as an unknown, just saying plant is helpful as well. So it's not like you need to go through and identify down to species level. Even just getting it into those general categories is super helpful as well.
Great, good,
Yeah.
fine, thank you. Well, it'll be fun to do that. And some of us have apps that we've bought, for example, for plants or, you know, bird songs. And I can imagine having a lot of fun using some information from those to help with our identification, right? Well, this is fun.
The ID part is, in my opinion, I think it's the most fun. Because there's also a little bit of camaraderie if you're doing it with a group of people. And to be honest, I remember going to my first ID event a few years ago and feeling very self-conscious of like, what am I doing going to this ID event? I can't ID half the stuff that people are probably going to submit. But then you start looking at the submissions and suddenly, you know, you see a lot of dogs and it's like, oh, well, this doesn't count. And you're suddenly marking things as not within the categories or not applicable. And suddenly it's not always just about the IDing. It's also about IDing what doesn't belong. And that is kind of why we specified in the beginning that it's wild flora, wild fauna, wild fungi. Because I also remember, you know, a couple of years ago, somebody submitted their houseplant and it's like, no, close. Maybe wild somewhere else, but not here, not in this context. And I think it's honestly the most fun. And honestly, it sounds like if you are going to gather at the near West Side Library for an ID party, I mean, send that invitation my way. That sounds like a good time.
Great, great. Well, I'm just realizing we thought maybe we would be sending people out one day until I came and really listened. You know, maybe we'd have a little meeting on the Saturday and then send people, you know, go forth and observe or take pictures. Now we know more what to do, and then come back on the Sunday and share what you've learned or something. I have to get it straight with the librarian and all that, but I think people tend to like to say what they found or things like that too, right? Former teacher here, people like to look what I found, yeah. Well, this has been very helpful, and thanks for the